you're not going to make progress in the gym. It's as simple as that. The first couple years of training, I listened to everybody's advice. I went to gym 7 times a week, 6 times a week. I did push-pull legs. I did all these conventional advice, and nothing worked for me. I thought it was the exercise selection. So I researched into that. And I picked the most optimal exercises for each muscle. Still didn't work. I tried fixing my form. Still didn't work. Nothing I did worked. Like, just nothing I did worked, right? And I couldn't figure out why. I did more research. I talked to my friend about it, who's really big into the gym. I watched YouTubers like TNF, who's an upcoming YouTuber, Jeff Nippard. I watched a bunch of these guys, and I did it my own experimentation. And I'm about to give you the advice that I did that really worked for me, right? So first off, let's look at the before and after, right? The before training split and idea of how to train and the after. So in the before, my mindset was go as hard as you can, as much days as you can, recover, eat protein, whatever. But the idea is 6 to 7 times the gym in a week, lift as much weight as possible for the most amount of reps as possible, and that's how you build muscle. It works for some people, don't get me wrong. The standard advice, it does work. It just didn't work for me, and didn't work for a lot of people that I know. So I completely flipped the script. I started doing my research. I looked at bodybuilders and what they did, and I discovered something crazy. What I discovered was one main concept and how to implement it in a strategic way. So some of you guys have heard of the guy called Mike Menzer. He's like a very popular bodybuilder back in like the 70s and 80s. And his whole thing was he trained 2 days in a week and did 1 set per muscle group. How does that work? I thought to myself, what the hell is this guy doing? I don't know how he's so jacked. Genetics and steroids, that's what I coped with, right? But then I did my research about it. And there's this topic called the CNS, your central nervous system. Recovery, yeah, it's your muscles, but also it's your nervous system, right? Say you train arms, then push, then pull. Let's just say random split. Let's just say arms. Let's say arms, lower, and then chest and back, right? Your muscles, your arm muscles, your tricep, your bicep, your shoulder, will recover by the time chest and back comes, right? But since you train 3 days in a row of different muscles, but you still train 3 days in a row, your central nervous system is fatigued, right? Every time you do a rep of any muscle, every time you do a rep, every time you do a set of anything, your nervous system, which kind of like your brain, if that makes sense, right? Your veins, not veins, like your nerves, your spine, whatever, everything, it gets more fatigued, right? And then that's why you're not making any progress, right? If you train 7 days a week, you can imagine that even though it's different muscles and your muscles have recovered, your body's so fatigued, and that makes sense, right? So that's why I kept feeling burnt out. That's why my weight on every single machine just stayed the same or got lower. Or if it did progress, it would progress very, very slowly. That's why. So how do you avoid this, right? The advice I want to give you is to have more of a simplistic split. So full body 3 days a week, or upper lower upper lower. I do the upper lower because I just like it more. But pretty much how it works is, say like whatever, let's say upper day, right? So chest, biceps, triceps, back, right? Those are like and shoulders, right? These are the main muscles you'd have in your upper body, right? Let's keep it very simplistic. Say it's like you do chest, then you do back, then biceps, then triceps, then shoulders. Let's just say, right? You do 2 sets per muscle group, right? So say you do like say chest, right? You do bench press for, let's say, 2 sets. Then back, you do pull-ups for 2 sets. Then biceps, you do bicep curls for 2 sets. Tricep push down for 2 sets. And shoulders, let's say, lateral raises for 2 sets, right? So you keep it very minimalistic. So you hit 4 sets per muscle group in a week, right? And in those sets, you do 4 to 7 reps. That's what works for me. Very, very minimalistic. I'll explain why. So first off, we discussed recovery, right? But the second aspect of which I, hinted at earlier is, let's say for the reps, right? The main, like the most important part of a 12 rep set is the failure reps, right? Your last 5 reps are the most important, where the muscle growth comes from, right? We could all agree on that. And the other, reps, they don't do much, right? So the philosophy behind the 4 to 7 set rep, like in per set, is like, why don't you just skip out on the first 5 reps and just do the 5 most important reps, right? We can all agree that the 5 reps at the end are the most important ones. So why don't we just do that only? So you're supposed to higher the weight, right, and do it for less reps. So that's step 1 to understanding the split. Now the second thing is, whenever you do upper body, let's say, right? Say you do chest first, your biceps aren't affected. Say you do chest flies, right? Your biceps aren't at work. So your biceps are still fresh, right? Even though you're still tired, whatever, your bicep is still fresh, right? Or say you did back, your tricep's still fresh. Which for me, it allowed me throughout the whole workout to feel fresh, right? You know, my chest tired, whatever, but my shoulders are fine, right? Or my shoulders are tired, that's whatever, but my biceps are fine, right? So every single exercise, like muscle group I do, was fresh, right? Same thing for legs. I do 2 sets of quads, right, per workout, but my hamstrings are fresh, my glutes are fresh, my calves are fresh, my adductors, my abductors are all fresh. So that's the philosophy behind this new workout. It's worked for me. It's worked for all my friends. I'm putting my little brothers on it, and it seemed to be working for them. And I really urge you guys to try this. Upper, lower, break, upper, lower, break, break. 1 exercise per muscle group, 2 sets of that, in 4 to 7 rep range. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.